Hi, it's Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. So, is an e-bike in the future for you? I spent a lot of time looking at e-bikes. I haven't bought one yet, working on that. But I am convinced that an e-bike is going to be in the future of anyone who owns a bicycle. And a lot of people who don't own bicycles are moving into the e-bike world. And that's because they are absolutely in the process of changing transportation as we know it. Without getting into the Green New Deal, this is our part to have the reduce our carbon footprint at the same time. So what's happened with e-bike sales since the COVID struck? It's altered our lives, but e-bike sales have gone up 70% in the United States. And it's estimated that between now and 2023, there's going to be 130 million e-bikes sold. Pretty astonishing. In the Netherlands in 2018, they've already passed that tipping point where they sell now more e-bikes than they do bicycles, which is going to be our future, I'm convinced. And it's because they not only are they practical, but they're fun. I get so many studies that come across my desk, and what we're finding from these studies is that people who have a bicycle and use a bicycle and then get an e-bike ride them more frequently and they ride them further than they do their e-bike. People are recognizing that you can use an e-bike for virtually most of the things you use a car for. One study has found that about 28% of people who are buying an e-bike worldwide are doing it to avoid or replace the use of their car. Either they're buying it in replacement of a car or to replace the use of the car. Think about this. So a lot of information that the average automobile trip is, or 35% of our trips in our car are less than 2 miles. So right off the bat, if you had an e-bike and you had you put a rack on it or panniers on it, you can run to the grocery store, run to the office, do all these things that we use the car for, and replace up to 35% of our trips just on that alone. And then I saw another study that 46% of owners replaced car trips when they were using their e-bikes. And let me see, what is that? Oh yeah, and 30% of their errands. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes today. But I think the thing that we have to keep in mind is, I saw an article just the other day that a guy was on an e-bike in a mountain biking park, and people were calling him a cheater. And it's like, dude, I guess I get it. You think I'm cheating, but the studies are that the one pretty good study showed that you still get 94% of the heart value when you're on an e-bike compared to a regular bike, but the perception of what you're doing is so much less. So you get the benefit without the perception that you're working so hard. Particularly important for people who have that barrier of entry to an e-bike, thinking that bicycle riding is too difficult for them. So it's lowering the barrier of entry. So another amazing thing about e-bikes that I think we're going to contribute to an increase in health is that there was a famous study done last year, I think it was, by a guy in the Ragbri in Iowa, riding with a person who had Parkinson's. And over the course of the trip, over these 5 or 7 days, the person with them who had Parkinson's, their symptoms began to really get noticeably better. Further research has shown that it's the rapid movement of the pedals, which is particularly helpful when you have an e-bike because you have sometimes more control over how quickly you can move the pedals, contributes to a reduction in symptoms in things like Parkinson's. And I've even seen data that it contributes to a reduction in Alzheimer's. So there's amazing health benefits that the general people who are not on bikes, those of us sort of in the bike world know these things to a large extent, but there's a whole world of people out there who are not exercising and don't know these things and don't recognize the value of what is available for them. And I think all this is going to pull more and more people into e-bikes. I think that they're going to be, in San Francisco, I've reported on this in the past. Market Street, when my daughter lived there a few years ago, Market Street was largely 6 lanes of automobiles. And today, no cars, okay? Bikes and a bus line and a taxi line, I think it is. So New York has closed major streets up there for bikes and e-bikes only. I mean, it is the thing of the future. It is what's going to transform the future of our larger cities, and it's going to transform the cities where you and I live. Um, so, is there an e-bike in the future for you? If you don't have one, the answer is, to me, a resounding yes. And you're going to enjoy it, and it's going to change your life, because while we love riding our bikes, riding an e-bike puts a different smile on your face, and we can all use that. All right. I'm Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. Listen, my office is in Clearwater. We represent cyclists across Florida. Whether you've been injured in a bike crash or in a car accident, call me. I'll let you know what we can do to help you. And we have a special passion in my practice to help cyclists, regardless of how you've been injured. So I'll look for you the next time we're on the air, and enjoy your ride. Thanks. Be safe. Bye.